Past one on a 4-day run, and the desert is a welcome sight. I can see you there in that dress you wear, and it's keeping my foot on the gas. I drink a gallon of Joe just to make it back home and hold you in my arms at last. Desert full moon shining, lighting up the highway like a beacon to you. If I can make it on time, have some moonlit stay lamp, will it be so right on through?
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers found sometime last week has been inspected in Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
The views, opinions, and representations expressed on the K-Ghost Radio Network and its website are those of the host, guests, and participants, and they are not necessarily those of or endorsed by the network, its affiliated stations and broadcast, management, or advertisers of the network. The show is found under LJA Broadcasting Network. UFO Talk Radio can, but does not necessarily promote any particular lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or other personal practice. These shows are for entertainment purposes only, and they are not intended to treat or diagnose and or claim to cure any disease or condition, or give any medical or legal advice. All music is purchased and owned by LJA Broadcasting.
Some fun right along with us, broadcasting live deep from the desert of Nevada. Welcome to the Glenn Leary Show. Now, broadcasting live from deep in the desert of Nevada, K-Ghost Radio presents UFOTalkRadio.com with your host, Larry Glenn Anderson, Glenn Larry.
Hello and welcome to all my friends and family from deep in the desert of Nevada. I am Glenn Leary, and may I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be from. Yes, we are live broadcasting to all of you with the LJ Broadcasting Networks and to all the micro broadcasters and affiliates out there and low broadcasters, shortwave, internet stations all the world, ham operators, 73s to you, yes, and to the Silent Key Whiskey 60 Baker, Art Bell. Thank you so much. KPFF, Pahrump, Nevada, nice station up there, doing a great job. KBHR 57 AM, Siskiyou, Alaska. All thank you for carrying us. And to all the small broadcasters, all of the world and internet world network, we thank you so very much. Oh yes, what a night! What a night's going to be. Got a great special guest coming up, John Russell. He is incredible. He's several books out. Psychic paranormal investigator, author, and much more. And I'm telling you, I found this guy, and it's going to be a great interview tonight. Really will be. Lots happened. I've been so busy. Washer and dryer, you know how that goes. The washer's going, it overflows. Are the things out of the walls? It's on the floor. This might be for the broadcast, of course. I'm going, great. We'll deal with that after the show. I mean, things do happen. And of course, let's go do this fast break real fast. I'll be back with you. Hanging in there.
Violence, theft, drugs, graffiti. It's all part of joining a gang. In times like these, we need to protect our children and our community from gangs. Gangs often prey on unsupervised teens with low self-esteem, who perform poorly in school, who seek a sense of belonging, or are simply bored. Joining a gang often involves violent hazing rituals. Once in a gang, members can become alienated from their families, school, and friends. Drugs, guns, and activity are common elements in gangs. Trying to leave a gang can be a difficult and dangerous process. The best way to get out of a gang is never to join one. Protect kids from being recruited by a gang. Know who they're hanging out with. Involve kids in after-school activities and provide positive role models. Help reduce gang activities in your community by working with local law enforcement and school systems. Don't let a kid you know get involved with gangs. Visit ncpc.org to learn more or contact your local law enforcement agency.
A message from the U.S. Department of Justice, National Crime Prevention Council, and the Ad Council.
Oh, yes. Are you watching the skies? UFOs have been reported all over. We're up this month a little bit. A lot in Canada, by the way. Washington State. Oklahoma's had a few. And also a meteor explodes over Vermont. A force of like 440 pounds of TNT, the size of a bowling ball. It destroyed itself through the atmosphere, of course, but with lights, sparks, booms, and bangs, and what a show it did put on. Yeah, unbelievable. Imagine that, a bowling ball size coming through. But what noise did it make? Powerful stuff, yeah. The Starman is zooming past Mars as we speak, I guess. The Tesla Roadster. And also, this is just off the cuff. A dentist is in the dentist working in his dentistry office, and all of a sudden, through the window, flies a turkey. Lands in the lap of the patient, and they're just like, oh my goodness. Freaky things do come out of the sky, I guess, I was going to say. Have you had a good week? I had a great week. I've been doing a lot of studying, research on all that stuff. And I came across our guest coming up, John Russell. My friend, Gary Anderson, great guy of Night Dreams Radio. That's a great show, by the way. Gave me some names and numbers of people that might be interesting to be on the show. But I do a lot of research on the folks, who they are, what they're doing, how they're doing it. And I'm telling you, this guy, John Russell, blew me away, sincerely. And he is, you'll see when you talk to him. It's going to be interesting. Like I see, he has a couple books out. The one book he has out, I see here, is called Writing with Ghosts, Angels, and Spirits of the Dead. And then another book called A Knock in the Attic. Sounds interesting. Yeah, a lot of investigations all over the world, has clients, psychic reader, psychic. And I don't normally have psychics on the show, although this one, I think you might, I don't know, enjoy this one. I don't know if he's going to take any calls or whatever. We'll talk about that later. But John, are you with me?
Glenn, I'm here. It's great to be on your show. I appreciate you having me, and I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, this is John, right? I got your live.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic, John Russell.
There you go.
Yeah, I had to pop the button there. Yes, and I'm glad to have you on the show again. Gosh, where do we start? You became a psychic, or found out that you were psychic at the age of 5 years old. Is that correct?
Right. Around 5 or 6. I had my first paranormal experience, which was actually a visitation from a ghost that opened up the portal to all the paranormal experiences that I've subsequently had over my lifetime, and at the same time activated my psychic gift. And that's when I became aware that I could accurately foretell people's futures. I could read their thoughts. I could tell where they'd been, what they'd been doing, and so on and so forth.
Was at the age of 5 years old?
Right.
Wow. Did it scare you?
That is the only time in my life I have ever been scared by the paranormal, and yes, I was terrified. The visitation was actually that of an old black man, an old black ghost.
Wow.
And my family's white, and I don't think we even had any black friends. We certainly didn't have anyone black living with us, so I presumed that an intruder had entered the home. And the way the visitation occurred, I had been sound asleep in my bed, and all of a sudden I woke up wide awake, and I thought, well, that's odd, that's funny. And I raised up on my elbows, And through my open bedroom door, which faced the hallway, my parents had left a night light on, which shone into the hallway.
Uh-huh.
And around one of the doorways in the hallway, I could see this old black gentleman peering around the doorway and looking at, and I screamed bloody murder. I thought somebody had broken into the
Oh,
house.
gosh.
And when I screamed, he walked around the doorway into the hall, and he was absolutely as solid as you or I. He wasn't misty, he wasn't transparent or translucent. It would just be like looking at another person. He was completely solid, wore clothes. I can tell you the clothes that he had on.
My God.
And I screamed again, and my parents came running. And when my parents came running, he began to disappear. He began to become transparent and vanish, and then vanish completely. And so that was the beginning of the opening up of the portal for all of the subsequent paranormal experiences I've had. By now, I've had well over 1,000. And these are not things that I meditate or hallucinate or dream or envision. These actually occur on the physical realm. A lot of times I've been able to photograph them, record them. Other people have experienced them as well. So these are real happenings.
Right.
And at the same time, then I became aware that I had developed a psychic gift as well.
I see them all the time. It's crazy. And they
Yeah.
walk right through my house sometimes. And it also happened to me when I was a child. My first one
interesting.
was my mother that had passed away, and she came back to visit.
Mm-hmm.
She was in
Oh, wonderful.
full form, and I went away for a while because I wanted to go away, but then it came back after I had open heart surgery, like a faucet. Unbelievable.
Right.
But
Yeah.
did the black man ever come back?
I don't believe that he has. I've communicated with him over the years, or tried to, and said, thanks for opening the portal. Thanks for opening the doorway.
Right.
And it's been a really marvelous, intriguing, fantastic life. But in the form that I saw him, I don't believe he ever has come back. I guess his job was done. He came and opened the portal, activated my gift, and
Wow. How many materializations have you really seen? I mean, him and how many others?
oh my goodness, too many to count. Like I say, I've had probably well over 1,000 experiences by now, and I've seen a lot of full-bodied ghosts, a lot of full-bodied apparitions. I've seen nature spirits. I saw a fairy flying through the air once.
Mhm.
There's just been a plethora of events,
Right.
and some things that I did not believe in, and subsequently had to change my belief system and accept the fact that certain things were real and existed.
Wow. On those books that you have out, writing with
Yes,
ghosts, angels, and spirits of the dead, what is that all about?
right. That particular book covers a very narrow time span in my life of about a year or two. What had happened was I had been contracted to shoot a series for the History Channel. The working title was Psychic History, and we shot the pilot, which was a great success, but unfortunately never aired. And so my producer and I had become friends, and we continued to work on projects together to try and get me on television. And in approaching producers and TV uh, stations, TV networks,
Mm-hmm.
he said, why don't we come up with a blog where you put just some brief descriptions of some paranormal experiences that you've had, and would use that as an additional marketing tool. So I began to write this blog and talk about some of my experiences. And around that time, now I've also been a biker since I was like 15 years old. And so around that time, I began to have this incredible amount of melodramatic, bizarre, over the top paranormal experiences that mostly centered around riding my motorcycle. While I was riding my motorcycle, either while I was on the bike or after I had arrived at a destination, or sometimes beforehand. And so I put a few brief snippets of those on the blog, and then I realized, I kept track of everything. And I realized these experiences are so incredible, so bizarre, and I've learned so much from them. They're entertaining as well as informative, that I need to take these, expand them into the full story of what actually happened, collect them together, and make a book out of them. And I did, and that's how that was born.
Right. Great. Now, this a knock in the attic, was that when you were a child? That's how that happened, or that was kind of like your second time it happened, or?
Yeah, this A Knock in the Attic. This book is actually a prequel to Writing with Ghost Angels and the Spirits of the Dead, and this is the book that talks about that awakening when I was 5 or 6, and then comes on up through my life, hitting the highlights of what it was like to be psychic, all these things, up into my teenage years, up into my adulthood, becoming a professional psychic, paranormal investigator, and so on, and then takes me through my move from Texas, where I grew up, to New York, and then ultimately to Florida, and has a ton more paranormal experiences in it. And the fun thing about these books, Glenn, is that when you become an author, editors, agents, publicists, publishing houses, whatever, will all tell you that there are no unique books. They say, look, there's always a comparable title out there, so give me comp titles. And I kept telling people, I said, these books are unique in the realm of paranormal literature. There's not a comparable title. There's nothing out there really like these.
Right.
And so ultimately, this editor friend of mine read one of the manuscripts before it was published, and he said, this is absolutely unique. There's nothing else like this out there.
That's great.
And when people read books, and my authors have said the same thing, they said, I read paranormal books my entire life, and I've never read anything like this. So when people read these books, they're going to be in for a paranormal treat that's unique, and it's going to be entertaining. It's going to be fun. It's going to make you laugh, going to make you cry, but it's going to educate you as well, but without preaching at you. So they're fun.
Now, let's talk about education. So you've had these conversations with the dead. Have they gave you any good messages? I mean, direct, like, okay, John, I want you to go talk to Bob, or, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Was there a directive message?
Oh, all the time. Yeah. The people on the other side give me messages for people all the time, like in my readings with my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that I will encounter, and maybe I'll get a message from someone for the other side for them. And the great thing is that these, I call them my guys, this group of entities on the other side that a lot of them I think have been with me since childhood, and I affectionately call them my guys. And they talk to me as well, and they have provided literally life-saving guidance for me many times, which is why I am an absolute firm believer in guardian angels.
Yeah. Now, you don't think these are evil spirits or bad spirits at all?
No, absolutely not. You go back to the Bible verse, if Satan is going about doing good, his house is divided and he cannot stand. And so all of these experiences I've had over the years have been positive experiences, enlightening experiences, good experiences. And the messages that I get for people are positive, enlightening, good, and helpful. And my own personal experiences have all been positive. Now, that's not to say that there isn't evil in the spiritual realm. If we extrapolate life here on earth, there's evil people. And so obviously there has to be evil in the spiritual realm. But it's not prevalent to the degree that people believe that it is. And I think a lot of people misinterpret the experiences they have as being something evil or being something dangerous, when in fact it's not. And I can give you a real clear example of that. It goes back to when I was shooting the TV pilot, and this woman that was on in one of the places where we were filming at the time, she said, when there's a break, I've got to talk to you. And I said, okay. So we got a break in the filming. And she said, this ghost tried to kill me. I said, oh, no ghost tried to kill you. Yes, this ghost tried to kill me. I said, what happened? So she was in her kitchen. This plate flew out of the cabinet from across the kitchen, flew across the room through the air, and hit by the wall where she was, hit the wall and shattered. And she said, the ghost tried to kill me. And I said, no, the ghost is just trying to get your attention. What I discerned psychically was that the other side had some communication that it wanted to open up to her.
Yeah.
For her, and they had been trying to reach her for a long period of time. She had been ignoring them, and so finally it was like, ignore this, I'm going to get your attention. And they did. So there was no harm, no foul. It was just their way to get her attention.
Right.
And so that's why I say a lot of people misinterpret the experiences that they have.
Yeah, a lot of folks have these experiences at nighttime, and Have you had
Right.
a lot of daytime stuff, materializations? Like, bam, there's that person standing right there, and they talking directly to you? Or are they talking through your mind, like a sixth sense type of thing?
Right. I have as many experiences in the daylight, if not more, than in the dark.
Okay.
And and sometimes the people will talk to me audibly. Most of the time, the message comes through in my mind.
Now, we are having a little bit of problem with Skype for some reason. I can hear it. But John, let me ask you this much: when they talk to you directly to you, they're moving their lips just like would be standing in front of you. Is it the way it happens? I mean,
Yeah, exactly. It's just like talking to another person standing there in the flesh.
right. I wrote a book called "I Can See Clearly Now" on Hans to do with Michael Jackson, and I had some very interesting experiences. It's in the book, but I have believed this always to be true since I was a child, and I met with some really cool guys that they were psychics: Alexis Carroll, Ino Brandt, and of course Louis J. Music up here in the Washington State area. Of course, they've all passed, but I was in their circle. And my gosh, to be with all these people that really took it seriously, stuff did happen.
Right.
It did happen.
Yeah. Oh,
And
absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
go, this is not fake. This is not hocus pocus or TV and what have you. This is the real stuff. And
It
they were
actually occurs. Yeah.
they were a secret group. They had to be. But these people had great jobs. One's an attorney, one's a judge, and unbelievable. So, what is it about UFOs? Where does this tie in with UFOs?
Oh man, I have had so many UFO experiences in my life. I've probably had close to 10 or 12 sightings now, and I had two very dramatic sightings that I write about in my books. In particular, in Writing with Ghost Angels and the Spirits of the Dead. What was really funny, Glenn, was when I was a young man. By the time I was around 20 years of age, when I had my first UFO sighting, in spite of having this psychic gift, which had been validated and I knew was accurate and was real, and in spite of having this plethora of paranormal experiences already, which occurred on the physical realm, and I knew they were real. In spite of all of that, I didn't believe in UFOs. When I was a young man, I simply didn't believe they existed. I read the literature, I read the books, I read the magazines, I saw the interviews, and it was just like, nope, not having any part of it, can't believe it, can't get behind it. And then when I was, I can go into detail if you want about how the event transpired, the encounter transpired.
Well, of course.
Then when I was, like I said, yeah, okay, well, I was, like I said, I was in my 20s, right around 20, and I was at this building. Where I had parked was in a parking lot across the street. I could see my car over there. It was a narrow 2-lane street. And when I exited the door of this building, I could look in the parking lot and see my car. It was like right there, just, not that far away, probably less than half a block away. So I had come out of this building. This one, I'm living in West Texas. I grew up in West Texas, and we have a lot of storms, a lot of tornadoes there. And when I exited the door of the building, this blast of wind hit me in the face, and I was like, oh, looks like we're in for one of our thunderstorms or maybe even a tornado. And so I closed the door and I looked across the street to the parking lot where my car was, and it was overcast by then. There were clouds overhead and a lot of wind. And over in the parking lot by my car, there was this column of, I guess it was a cloud, this cloud coming down from the clouds above, like in this column, and resting on the parking lot, still attached to the clouds above, but resting on the parking lot asphalt by my car. And I was like, okay, this may be like a mini tornado or whatever, and so what should I do? Well, as I'm standing there watching this, and the column, this cloud column is not rotating so much as it's kind of pulsating and kind of moving an odd way. I'm standing there watching it. These orbs, glowing orbs of color, begin to come out of the cloud, not completely, but just come out of the surface of the cloud and then recede back in. And they do that all over the area of the cloud. And they were red, orange, yellow, green, blue. And it was the most mesmerizing, fascinating thing I'd seen. Well, that was the first hint that it was paranormal. The second hint that it was paranormal was that I observed that down in the parking lot, there were bits of debris and things and some trash and whatever. And around the base of the cloud, which everything should have been blowing and scattering
Right.
and swirling around, all the debris around the base of the cloud was completely, totally still. It wasn't moving at all.
Huh.
So that was my second clue that this was paranormal. And then for some bizarre reason, Glenn, I had this strange urge to walk toward the cloud. I had this irrational urge to walk toward the cloud. So I took 2, 3, 4 steps to the cloud, and then it moved toward me in the parking lot. I stopped,
Huh.
backed up, and it backed up. I walked toward it again, and it moved toward me again, and I stopped, it stopped. I backed up, it backed up. Well, I backed up close to the door, and about this time, this friend of mine came out, and he hit me in the back with the door, and he goes, "Oh, geez, I'm sorry. What are you doing standing so close to the door?" And without waiting for me to answer, he looks up and he goes, "Oh, geez, looks like we're in for a storm." And then he looks over in the parking lot and sees a cloud and goes, "Oh, what in the world is that?" So I know he sees it too, so I know I'm not going nuts.
Right.
So I say, "Watch this." And I walk toward the cloud, and it advances toward me. I stop, it stops. I back up, it backs up. And I said, "Isn't that the weirdest thing you've ever seen?" He looks at me like I'm the weirdest thing he's ever seen. He
Yeah.
says, "I'm out of here. Bye." And he takes off the other direction. His car is in a different direction. So this leaves me alone with the paranormal cloud. And I'm like, what to do now? And I stand there a little bit longer. And all of a sudden, it sucks back up into the clouds above. Everything goes over. And I'm like, okay. I run toward my car, get in my car. I'm like, what in the world was that? So I back out, and I'm starting to drive, and I'm going down the street, and I know the town like the back of my hand a jillion times over. I grew up there and been all over the town, and so I know where I'm at. I know how many blocks and how many, to whatever street I need to go to or whatever. So it begins to rain, and Glenn, when I say it begins to rain, this is not one of those everything's bigger in Texas stories. I mean,
Right.
it begins to rain. Now in Texas, in 15 minutes time, it can come a downpour that'll flood streets and
Yeah.
underpasses and yards and so on and so forth. This was beyond that. This rain comes down, and it is so hard. I cannot exaggerate this to you. I cannot tell you enough about how dense this rain was. Imagine you're sitting in your car and you looking out through this rain, and you can't see any further than about a foot beyond the end of the hood of your car.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That's how hard this rain is coming down.
Wow.
And I turn my headlights on, I turn the wipers on high, they're beating furiously against this rain, doing absolutely no good whatsoever. They just can't even begin to clear the windshield. And as I'm driving along, and naturally you can't poke more than 2 or 3 miles an hour in a rain like this. So there are cars angle parked on the street, and I can't even see the cars out my passenger window, and I'm afraid I'm going to sideswipe the cars over there. And I get really panicked at this point because it dawns on me I'm going to hit somebody or somebody's going to hit me. You can't see anything. Like I said, the visibility ends about a foot beyond the hood of my car, literally. And I can look out the passenger window. I can't even see the cars that are angle parked on the side of the street. So I'm beginning to get really uneasy because I'm like, okay, there's a wreck coming here. And
I have
almost
to
hit this person in.
John, do me a favor. We have to go to commercial, guys.
Yep.
Can you hold that, everybody? Hang
No
in there.
problem, no
We'll be
problem.
back with John Russell.
Take it back up.
Good. We're back with John Russell, everybody. And need to go to commercial. We'll be back. This is Glenn Larry. Our thanks go out to Sheldon Battery, which has helped the station quite a bit. If you have any questions about batteries, and if you're in the local area, maybe Las Vegas, Reno, Nevada, wherever, I'm telling you, the guy is a great guy. Ask for Jeff in a Sheldon Battery. This guy is fantastic. The questions about batteries, he's the answer man. Call 702-362-8180. And I want to thank kindly to Fran, which owns Carpets Tiles USA. Thank you for donating to our beautiful stations. And if you understand flooring, what to buy, I'm talking about carpet, quality of carpet. When you buy carpet, it's like an investment of your house or apartment or what have you, but you get this good stuff. Ask him about it. Ask him about carpet. Get the educational done. See Fran, ask for Fran, 702-265-4419. Great guy. And of course, you do see Ray's Honey on my websites. And I use it for allergies, helps me out. And it's very tasty. And it's pure honey. Ray's Honey. You remember that name, Ray's Honey, 702-885-1260. Thanks to Tina's Hair and Extensions, which I do need a haircut. And I've had listeners tell me that I didn't miss get a haircut too long. Well, I'll get there. Trust me. And I do see Tina. She does me a great job. 702-591-0033. If you're in the Las Vegas area, she's the one to come to. We'll be back right after this.
Mom, you wanted to talk to me?
The calendar hypnosis into thumbtack cushion, completely tailwind. And sewing elephants plant before cartoon paper cups. So numbers renovate.
If your teenager is trying drugs or alcohol, would you know the right words to use?
Afterward, lightly fish scale. Doorbell.
Find out what to say at drugfree.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America.
Time for the Glenn Larry Show on UFOTalkRadio.com. Now, back to Glenn Larry.
And we are back with John Russell. And he was in the middle of a story. Gosh, can we recap that, bro?
Yes, absolutely. So, like I said, saw the cloud. That went up, got in the car. This rain began. So this rain is so torrential, I can't see beyond the hood of my car.
Mm-hmm.
So I almost run into someone in front of me. They're stopped at a light and at a traffic light, and I almost rear end them. And I'm like, God, what am I going to do? I can't just sit here. People are going to move. The car in front of me, the light changes, they start moving.
Right.
And so I realize I have to move. And we're poking around the corner. I had made this where I wanted to turn. We had a Sears Roebuck store there on Beauregard Street, and the street behind it was Twig Street.
Mm-hmm.
And there was on Twig Street, there was this large parking lot behind Sears, and you could go into that and then go into the Sears store. So my thinking was that in the ferocity of this storm, this rain, if I could just creep along and see the entrance to the Sears parking lot, I'd go in there, park, and get out, even though I'd be soaked. I'd run into Sears, go down to the basement, and look at the sporting goods and wait the storm out. So that was my plan. So we turned the corner. I'm on Twig Street, and I'm still poking around as slow as possible and trying to keep from hitting the car in front of me. The car behind me almost rear ends me and managed just to stop in time. And I'm still looking out the window. I can't see the cars that are angle parked. I've still got about a foot of visibility beyond the hood of the car. And I'm actually leaning over on the steering, but leaning over in the seat of my car, trying to see out the passenger window to see where the cars are that are angle parked so that I don't hit them, because I'd almost hit one. While I'm leaned over that way, the rain instantly stops.
Yeah.
Now, you have to understand that it doesn't slack off, it doesn't lessen, it doesn't decrease and then finally fade off. 1 second, I can't see a foot beyond the hood of my car. The next second, there's absolutely no rain whatsoever, no moisture in the air at all, not even a mist falling on the windshield.
What did you see?
And even though it's overcast, it's still cloudy. There's absolute clear visibility. I can see all the way down the road in front of me, look in my rearview mirror, see all the way behind me. The rain has totally, completely, instantly stopped in 1 second's time. And so I'm like, what in the world? And so I and there, and the cars that are coming the opposite way on the street all of a sudden begin to swerve into our lane, and people are honking and people are screeching to a stop, and people start rolling down their windows and pointing up at the sky, and some people are even getting out of their cars and pointing. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? Are people going crazy? And so I look to where they're pointing. And by then you can see the back of the Sears building. We're close to the parking lot and the entrance.
Right.
And you can see the back of the Sears building. And over the back of the Sears building, about 20, 30 feet over the building, top of the building, hovering there in the air, is a silver metallic disc. And it's about
There it is.
30, 40, 50 feet in diameter. And there it is.
There it
and
is.
I'm like, my God. And it's just hovering there, no flame, no smoke, no sound, no noise. And Glenn, I literally cartoon rub. I couldn't believe my eyes. And I literally did a cartoon eye rub, and I looked back up, and of course it's still there. And that's what all the people were pointing at, and so on and so forth. So all of these people had seen it before I did. And
what year was that?
As I'm looking at it, that would have been, oh gosh, sometime in the early 70s, I believe, somewhere around in there. And I reached for my door handle. I was going to get out of the car and get out and look at it. And as I reached for the door handle, the UFO just barely perceptibly moved towards us. And the clouds, the low clouds behind it, rushed up over it and covered it up. And the second that the clouds covered the UFO, the rain was back 1 second later in the same intensity that it had been before.
They got it planned,
and
boy.
I was like, yeah, I was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
So that was when I had to change religions, because there it was. There was the UFO, and not only I had seen it, but all these other people had seen it even before I had. And so that's when I became aware of the reality of the UFOs.
Wow. Gosh, I've seen a lot of them, and on my shows, people have heard the stories before. And yeah, they're here.
Right.
They've been here for a long time. And we're going to have to realize that we've got to work together somehow. And I don't know if they're living or whatever. I don't know if they're going to hurt us, but they're there. And we have to realize that
absolutely they are.
And
yes.
I think there's going to be a bit of an awakening with everybody about who we really are as people. And as you've said before, this world is quite a mess. And,
yes, it is.
So with this, back to the psychic end of this deal, it ties in a lot. I don't know. Maybe it's all connected because it's mental. We have the sight, and we have the opportunity to see certain things when we can. Naturally, or we work at certain levels. All of us do. I'm thinking once this thing pops, this bubble pops of the UFOs and everything else, I think everybody's intuition in their minds, all their talents will come out. They won't be dormant anymore. Does that make any sense?
That could be one side effect. Yeah, it does. That could be one side effect of this. I think by virtue of the fact that several years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, the New York Times began to run the articles about the UFOs when we began to have the fighter jet footage that had captured the UFOs, and they began to run those stories, and they ran several of them. And I think that kind of began to people and kind of get people realizing, hey, there's more here than what we've been told and what we get up and go through our 9-to-5 routine. There's more here. And now they just released something where the Pentagon admitted that they have anomalous UFO wreckage in their possession that they're studying. So with each one of these things, I think the consciousness of everyone kind of raises a little bit. The awareness kind of raises a little bit and comes up a little bit more. And I'm with you. I don't know if they're good. I don't know if they're bad. There's things about the experience that I am concerned about.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those is that, the abduction experiences absolutely seem to be real and legitimate.
Yes.
And so if people are being abducted, that's immoral and it's unethical. So that worries me. The second thing is people automatically just your intelligence is going to be benevolent or going to be benign. Well, the abductions would deny that. And also, we can extrapolate from our existence that just like there's good people here on Earth, there's bad people here on Earth. There probably is bad people in, whatever alien realms, whatever alien cultures that there are. There's probably bad ones there as well. And Giorgio Tsoukalos of Ancient Aliens, I saw him on a panel discussion at Contact in the Desert. It's on YouTube, available on YouTube. And he was saying he likes the idea of Space Force. He believes in the idea of our Space Force because, as he said, maybe these aliens are benevolent, but what if there's a faction of them that aren't? And we need protection. We need something to protect us from it. So I agree with that. And then the other thing that has really been aggravating me lately, if you will, is if I see you side of the road broke down, you've got a flat tire or whatever, there's me stopping, but I'm going to stop. I'm going to help you. I've got compassion. You're a fellow human being. I'm going to do what I can for you. I'm going to help you fix the tire. I'll change it if you don't know how. If you don't have a jack, I'll wait for you till AAA gets there, make sure you're okay or whatever. So we as human beings, as messed up as we are, and there's a lot of problems in the world, we do still exhibit compassion. Texas just froze. This is a good example of that. Texas just froze. And I'm from Texas, and I maintain contact with a lot of my friends there. And while people were out of oil and gas and water and food and couldn't heat their homes and couldn't get food and there was no drinkable water, people went out of their ways to procure what they could and to share it with others. And I had friends of mine that literally went out in the cold, in the snow, fired up the barbecue grill and cooked food on it and invited the neighbors over. People that were without heat. I had friends that had houses with fireplaces and plenty of wood, and they would get a hold of their neighbors and say, hey, if you don't have power, you don't have electric, you don't have gas, you have no heat, we've got plenty of wood, we've got the fireplace going, the house is going to be warm all day, all night. Come and bring a blanket, bring a pallet, bring a sleeping bag, sleep on the floor, you'll be warm, and they took care of each other. So we still have a lot of compassion. Now, my concern is if the UFO brothers, so to speak, are so benevolent, so kind, so compassionate, why aren't they helping us? Why don't they throw us a bone?
Exactly.
We have all these experiences, but we have nothing good coming out of them. We have these abduction experiences, these cattle mutilations reported, and this type of thing.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely not benevolent. And look, if somebody up there with this so-called highly advanced intelligence and highly advanced civilization, if they're so benevolent, they're so good, why doesn't somebody break rank and come down here and go, hey, look, we can't stop the tornadoes or the earthquakes or the volcanoes or the hurricanes or whatever, and we can't cure every disease, but look, take this and use it at St. Jude and get all the little kids out of the cancer ward and heal all these little kids. We can do that. Why doesn't somebody help? Why doesn't somebody throw us a bone? Why
John,
doesn't somebody say, hey,
John, I think we're on our own, to tell you the truth.
It seems to be, doesn't it?
I think that they've done some stuff back in the day. I think that we're on our own. They're coming back. And what they're coming back for or why, this is what's interesting. And it gets me. It bothers me.
Yeah, but that's the mystery.
Yeah, I what you're saying, I'm with you, bro. I really am. And it makes me, compassionate and empathy for people. That's very important. And you're seeing more of that.
And the interesting thing, Glenn, is that, the entities, the spirits on the other side, in the invisible realm, in the paranormal realm, they do exhibit compassion toward us, and they do help us, and they do lead us toward things, and they do protect us. Like I've had, I'll give you an example of a guardian angel voice that literally saved my life. I mean, the guys talk to me. Sometimes they talk to me literally, audibly, sometimes in my head, and sometimes in my head, it's an audible voice in my head. And that occurred this time. I was riding my motorcycle. I had a day off. I'd scheduled myself a day off, and I was flying up one of the interstates here in Florida. Now, as in most places, but especially in Florida, you have to understand here that on the 3-lane interstates, the right lane, which is supposed to be the slow lane typically, and the speed limit's 70, which nobody observes, and in the slow lane, people are usually going 80, 85.
Right.
And so, 90 to 100. Left lane all off for the people that imagine they're training for the Daytona 500 or something. So I'm in the right lane and I'm trying to go 70 and just lollygag and enjoy the scenery, and people are still passing me like crazy. And so, but I'm having a good time. It's a beautiful day and it's sunny, and the bike always runs great, and there's nothing as good as being on the motorcycle, and I'm enjoying myself. And all of a sudden the guys go, move into the far left lane. Now, it's going to take a lot longer to tell you about this than it did to happen. It was only a few seconds for it to happen. But I'm arguing with the guys. Now, I know better. I've received this guidance my entire life. It's saved me many times. I know the guys are always right. But like an idiot, I'm arguing with them in my head. And I'm like, I don't want to move into the far left lane. I'm going to have to do a lot of high-speed jockeying to get over there on the bike. And I can do it, but I don't want to. And I'm happy here. I'm enjoying the scenery. And this time they said, John, move into the far left lane now.
Right. Listen.
I'm like, okay. So I moved over, got in the far left lane, had to do a lot of upshift, downshift, brakes on, brake on, throttle off, maneuvering to do so. But I got there, and now I'm cruising along way below my high-speed riding capability, but not what I wanted to be doing. I wanted to be just lollygagging in the right lane where I was. And as I had gotten into the far left lane, the second that happened, there was a wreck in the right lane where I had just been, and this car got hit and spun around, was actually facing the wrong way in its lane on the interstate, and detritus was exploding shrapnel from the wreck. Was like blowing and rolling and flying across the road. And so if I had not only heard that voice and listened to it, but if I hadn't obeyed it, I would have been dead. I would have been in the big middle of that wreck. I would have hit that guy, hit me, or surrounding that would have hit me, and I wouldn't be here to tell you this story.
John,
so
we're going to
there are entities. There are people on the other side. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are. Tell us what to do.
Yeah,
and yes, I agree with you. And for some reason, we have a little bit of difficulty in and out with the Skype thing. I'm sorry, but we're hearing you. I'm going to open the lines up for callers. Is that okay with you? And
you bet.
See who we get.
To call UFO Talk Radio, the Glenn Larry Show, deep in the dark desert of Nevada, call 702-874-1114. North of the Rockies, call 702-874-1114. West of the Rockies, call 702-874-1114. And south of the Rockies, call 702-874-1114. And east of the Rockies, call 702-874-1114. First-time callers, call 702-874-1114. And if you just want to talk to the Glenn Larry Show, call 702-874-1114. Now, broadcasting live from deep in the desert of Nevada, K-Ghost Radio presents UFOTalkRadio.com with your host, Larry Glenn Anderson, Glenn Larry.
I myself and John Russell are back. And we're going to talk about what you want to talk about, Ghost. Some UFO experiences. We may go over 8 o'clock. I don't know. It's going to be up to John, what he wants to do. But we're going to have fun. This guy's done so much. And his website. And we'll give that up to you real soon. I want to remind you on kghostradio.com, UFOTalkRadio.com, archives. Our email address is glennlarry51@gmail.com. And if you like the show and like to donate, you can also do that on those websites. UFO Talk Radio, the Glenn Larry Show Talk. How much fun is it? Have you learned something? I have. And I'm pondering what is next to come. John, I'm telling you, it's pretty crazy stuff. You experienced some real cool stuff, and I have also, but folks out there have also experienced some stuff. I want to know some questions. Why? Why are they talking to me, and what do they really have? Is it real? Is this, and I see that you're a master in T-A-R-O-T, Torah cards, I guess. What that's all. You're a master? Would you explain that?
Right. Yes. Yeah, that was. I've loved the tarot cards since I was a kid. I'm also an artist, and so I'm attracted to the visual imagery of the cards. And I began to study the cards and use the cards when I was in my early teens. And then there was at the time an organization called Tarot International, and they offered a degree, Certified Tarot Master, and it was the Associated Readers of Tarot International. That was what the abbreviation, the acronym stood for. And so they offered this degree of Certified Tarot Master, and it was a legitimate thing. It wasn't like you pay your money, you get the degree. You had to send in a series of readings that you had performed for real clients, and the clients had to agree to give them their name, their address, their contact information to evaluate the reading, to tell you if it was accurate or not, and so on and so forth. And then you sent several of these readings in, and they were evaluated by the organization. And if you passed muster, then you got the degree, and I did. And so that's when I began to use the tarot.
Now, I know that a lot of Christians would say this is evil and it's of the devil.
Sure. Still do, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I hear that all the time. And what's interesting is I'm also actually an ordained minister, and the real deal, not the degree mill kind, in a real church. And I was actually associate pastor of a church for a while, and I'm conversant with all of that. You have to go back to the Bible verse where Jesus said, they accused Jesus of casting out demons by the power of the prince of the demons. And he said, look, if Satan's destroying his own kingdom, he's divided against himself. A house divided against itself can't stand, and he's coming to an end. And so if we are doing good things spiritually by bad means, then we're destroying bad according to the Bible. Bad is divided against itself and can't stand. But the problem with religion doesn't work, number one. Spirituality does, but religion doesn't. And the problem with religion is every religion has its own separate dogma, its own separate tradition, its own separate belief system, its own separate holy book, and they're all in discord with one another. They all disagree with one another, and they all claim to be the only right way, and so on and so forth. And so for people that are stuck in that belief system, it doesn't matter how much you explain or how much biblical exposition you go into or anything else you do, you're still going to be a tool of the devil, and you're using the devil's powers. So I learned a long time ago that it doesn't make any sense to argue with people that want to argue just for the sake of argument.
Right.
But if somebody really is interested in learning something, then you can talk some common sense into them. But yeah, I get that all the time still, that my gift's a tool of the devil, and I'm a tool of the devil, and it's all the power of the devil and everything. But the Bible's full of paranormal occurrences.
Oh yes,
and it sanctions its own.
That's interesting.
But it denigrates any outside of its own, which all religions do. So yeah.
But those got strange pictures on those cards. Death means something and looks terrible. But it doesn't actually mean death. Or I don't get how they read these things. But now, are you talking to someone on the phone or through a microphone? Can you do a reading? Can you talk to someone in my past?
Oh, yeah.
Who's around me right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
I really believe there's a certain person here that sometimes helps me with my shows. And I really feel this person, and sometimes it's strong, sometimes it's just, the show's over. What do we talk about?
Yeah, exactly. And it's really interesting that you mentioned that, because I'm on a lot of radio and podcast shows, and it's really funny. There's a lot of hosts that tell me while they're doing the show that they're very strongly aware of a strong spiritual presence with them while they're doing the show. And sometimes they know who it is, sometimes they don't, or they have a suspicion of who it is. So your experience is actually pretty common among radio hosts and podcast hosts. There's a lot of people that have that experience while they're doing the show. And I think that, doing what we do, it's kind of a magnetic attraction for the other side anyways.
Yes.
It's like, oh, look, somebody believes somebody's listening. Let's go there and communicate, or at least help and them aware that they're there. So yeah, that's a frequent occurrence. Absolutely.
Well, I've been very blessed and very thankful.
Yeah.
Especially to the man that, well, I think you know who I'm talking about, but
yeah.
Okay. Anyway, it's a gift, and our whole thing is, in my world, is not to tarnish the gift. Once you use that gift for yourself, greed or self wants, and really deep self wants, what have you, that gift is gone. And I got that message through several entertainers that have passed on, and through the gentleman that my voice sounds familiar like, and I've got that message. And so to me, to be what I'm doing is a blessing. I mean, it's what I want to do all my life. I love radio, and they've made it possible for me to do it.
It's a gift. It's a calling, and it's a gift and a calling, and you're helping people. You're opening people's eyes, and the information is entertaining. I mean, it's something that people look forward to. That it helps alleviate the drudgery of their lives. It gives them hope that there's something out there I can connect to. There's some spiritual presence or a guardian angel or guide or something that can come to me and help me. And so it's a blessing to be able to do this work. You're absolutely right.
Where can they get a hold of you and talk with you, or buy your books? Lay it on us, will you please, bro?
Sure. If you want to know more about me and or schedule a reading with me, you can go to my psychic website, which is johnrussell.net, JOHNRUSSELL.net, and that's for my psychic website for psychic readings. Unfortunately, I'm scheduling about 3 to 5 months out now. I stay pretty busy, but that'll give you an idea. If you want to buy the books, they're available at nearly all online booksellers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. If you want more information about the books and maybe even to read the sample first chapter before you buy, you can go to the websites for my books, which is for Writing with Ghost, it's writingwithghosts.net. And for A Knock in the Attic, it's knockintheattic.net. And when you get there, there'll be links to buy on Amazon or Books A Million or wherever you want to. There's plenty of links provided. There's information about me, about the book, what it contains, the sample first chapter in each case, the testimonials from people that have read the book, the reviews. I've got editorial reviews on the sites, like from Publishers Weekly, Book Life, from Kirkus Reviews, so on and so forth.
Great.
So all that information is there for everybody.
Great. Is it the Knock in the Attic is like, or it's like, I mean, it's not the Trinity thing. I mean, curious.
Yeah, it is a literal knock in the attic. That's why I titled the book
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
This occurred when we were living. I moved from Texas to be with my wife, and she was a New York native, lived in upstate New York, and I moved up there to be with her. And in the house we were in, we had 2 floors, a basement, and an attic. And the attic was a very large attic. You walked up a set of stairs to get into it, and it was a wide open space. And we didn't have anything up there except this old wardrobe and some boxes, and there was a stack of lumber up against one wall that had been there ever since I moved in with my wife. She owned the house before I came up. And so after I moved in, and of course she was conversant with the paranormal, and that's why we got together. And after I moved in, the first thing I did was inspect the house inside and out, change the locks, make sure everything's secure, change the alarm system, and make sure the home's secure. And I knew that it was, and I knew there was nothing loose or damaged or blowing in the wind, no windows open anywhere to bang in the breeze or anything like that. So, and like I say, with the house being secure, and I worked from home doing my readings, and one day we were sitting there, and from in the attic, and we had cats, I have to mention, and from in the attic we heard this kind of a muffled banging sound, but at regular intervals, and it sounded like somebody had a cloth over a hammer, just kind of bang, 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 tapping on a rafter or something. And we looked at each other and like, what in the world? And the cats got bug-eyed and bushy-tailed and ran and hid. And like I say, it was kind of muffled, but it was, and I knew that nobody had entered the home. We had chimes on the doors from the alarm system and all of this. So we were like, what in the world? I said, well, I'm going to invest. So I went up in the attic and looked around, and nothing out of place, nothing out of the ordinary, and certainly there was one attic window and it was locked tight shut. I always kept it that way, and nothing loose to bang and flop around any wind or anything, and there wasn't any wind anyways. So I'm looking around and I get this paranormal chill come over me. And if you've ever experienced a paranormal cold, it's different than any cold on the planet.
Yes, you're right.
So I get this paranormal chill and I say, is there anyone here? Do you have a message for us, for either of us? And I didn't get any particular message. So I just said, well, okay, guys, we hear you. We acknowledge you're here. And, I send blessings to you, return blessings to us, watch over the house, watch over us. And then I went back downstairs. Well, at that point, then the knocking began to increase in intensity and increase in regularity. And this happened, sometimes it would happen several times in a day, sometimes just once a day, sometimes weeks would go by and nothing had happened. Sometimes it would happen consecutive days on end.
John,
and the
John,
yeah.
I've got to go to a real fast break. I'm just, because we're in the 8 o'clock hour
No problem.
now. But
No problem.
Stay with me, bro, please.
Will do.
We'll be back in a few minutes here to finish with John Russell. Great stories. More to come on UFO Talk Radio. I'm Glenn Larry.
Some fun right along with us, broadcasting live deep from the desert of Nevada. Welcome to the Glenn Larry Show.
I am back with John Russell, and he was in the middle of a story about the knock in the attic. Stand by, everybody. All right, John, we are back. Finish your story. I'm sorry.
All right.
Yes, how much fun.
Oh, that's okay. No problem at all. No problem at all.
So we get the soft
Glenn,
knocking.
this is great. This is a blast. So, yeah. So the knock in the attic starts to increase in intensity and starts to get louder. And now, when the knock occurs, it's like somebody's taking the cloth off the hammerhead and they're banging on the rafter with a hammer really loudly. And the cats always run and hide, and
Me too.
my wife's boy, that when he would come and stay with us, he would hear it. We'd all hear it, but it got so loud that the neighbors began to hear it.
Wow!
And one time when I was outside the house, walking around the house, I could hear the knocking from the attic occurring while I was on the outside of the house. Well, it got so loud, like I said, the neighbors began to hear it, and I didn't realize this until there was this delightful little road right across the street from our house. And I would go over there, have something to eat, and sit at the bar, and the bar faced our house, and I would sit and look at our property and have some libations with friends. And so the neighbor walked in that was directly next door to us, and saw me at the bar and came over and said hi. And she said, "Are you having construction work done over there or something?" I said,
Oh, wow.
"Why?" And then she didn't know I was psychic. I hadn't told her I was psychic. And I said, "Why?" And she said, "What's all that loud banging and knocking coming from your house?"
Wow.
And I said, "Oh, yeah, we're having remodeling done." And she said,
That's great.
"But so late at night sometimes?" And I said, "Well, sometimes that's the only time the guy can get there." So
Wow.
she kind of shrugged and said, "Okay, whatever," and went on. So it had gotten so loud that neighbors were actually hearing it. So this continued, and sometimes even at night when we were sleeping, but at night they would kind of be considerate, and it was kind of like more of a light tapping than the loud banging. And so this went on for a good period of time. And then one day it sounded like somebody had a sledgehammer swinging it and hitting the rafters. That's how loud it was. And I was like, man, I got to go up again and see what's going on with these guys. And I went up there, and the pile of lumber that had been stacked against the wall this whole time, ever since I'd moved in, was moved out away from the wall. And underneath the pile of lumber, what the lumber had been covering all this time, was this little lace heart, about 2 inches by 2 inches, made out of lace and very, very old, and cut into a little perfect heart shape. And it was laying there on the floor. And I was like, oh, wow, look at this. What a gift. And I picked up the lace heart, thanked the guys for it, and moved the lumber back into place. And when I found that lace heart, the knocking stopped and it never occurred again. It was like they wanted to give me that gift and appreciation and a little heart symbolizing love and communication. And they gave that to me, and I guess it was like, thanks for listening to us. We've communicated with you. You've communicated with us. Here's a little gift, and now we're on our way. And the knocking stopped after that and never occurred again.
Isn't that a story? My gosh. I was expecting something
Isn't
like
it wonderful?
It is. I was expecting a story like, well, somebody died up there and left you something behind, and that's why the lumber they're working on the house. Some guy died, and that's why the lumber never got put away. And you can go anywhere with this, but what a beautiful story, really is. John,
yeah, it was really great, and
I want to thank you so very much for coming on the show tonight and staying with us a little later.
More than happy.
And hope to have you back again. And we will communicate.
Oh, I'd love to.
We'll communicate afterwards. And I'm going to get those books, autograph it to K Ghost or UFO Talk or the Glenn Larry Show, either one. But I'm going to get those books. Got to go. I have to have them. And everybody, I ask you, please get the books, folks. Get the books. Because what I've read about it, I just can't wait to get them. To the truth. But again, thank
you so much.
Thank you, John. And we'll be in contact, my friend. Be well. And may the best spirits and God be with you, please. I call on that.
And with you.
Thank you so much. And again,
yes, thank you, and thanks to the listeners. I appreciate you having me, and I look forward to returning.
Great. Thank you so much, my friend. Good night. Everybody play well. God bless. Be well. Thank you kindly, John.